Right, we're recording. Hi Lisa, how you going?
Yeah, good, thanks, Penny. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. And so you're in Queensland, aren't you? What's the weather like up there today?
It's beautiful. It's actually cooled off recently. I'm in Toowoomba, which is 2 hours inland from Brisbane. And typically around Easter, it starts to cool off. So I've actually had to get out my winter clothes, which my husband is quite horrified about because he comes from North Queensland originally.
Oh, so it would get quite cold then, wouldn't it, being inland at night time?
It does. Yeah, at night time we get quite cool, and already it's cool enough that we're thinking about putting the fire pit on. So there you go.
Okay, so that is cooling off. So how's
Mm-hmm.
your community up there in Toowoomba dealing with Covid-19 at the moment? How are things up there for you?
Yeah, everyone seems to be coping quite well with it. There's a lot of interaction across the neighbourhood. In my local neighbourhood on Sunday, people organised to have drinks out on their driveways, and my husband and son got the electric guitar and drums out and created some music for the neighbourhood. So yeah, I think everyone's trying to take it as positively as they can, which is really lovely.
There's a real sense of community coming out, isn't there, that you
Mm.
normally have.
Yep.
What happens. So yeah, there's going to be some interesting changes, I think, that come out of this pandemic when it's all finished.
Yeah, I think so. It's forcing us to look at doing things in a different way to what we have previously, and I think that's a good thing, because probably some of the barriers that were stopping us from doing those changes before, we've been forced to overcome.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and particularly with the topic that we're talking about today, with online counselling, that's a prime example of something that a few years ago was very new and difficult for people to encourage, or for their clients to feel comfortable with the concept of.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this is a really good opportunity for us all to go with that, with the momentum that's coming from the need to be online at the moment.
Yeah, and exactly. And I think that's one of the key themes, I guess, of this summit, is to try and just make things as easy as possible for people who are Christian counsellors to get online as quickly as they can.
Mm-hmm.
They find their circumstances have changed. So with that in mind, would you mind just sharing with everyone in the group just a little bit about yourself? Because I'm sure that some people don't know who you are. So what do you do and what's your business about?
Yep, so my name's Lisa King, and I'm a director for Crunch Practice Solutions, which is a great online business that supports allied health practitioners to set up their business online. So we help people from that point where they've decided to set up a business to actually being able to see clients. So we fast track that process for them by organising their logo, their website, the letterhead templates, everything they need to get to that point of seeing clients.
Yep.
Mm.
And we've worked together now for a while, haven't we?
We have, yes, we have indeed.
And so you've helped set up my business when I got going and sort of wanting to transition more into that online space. And so you guys helped me set up with my logo and my website, and you've been going, supporting me with all sorts of different things. In fact, you managed to pull a few tricks out of your hat at times when I need support. So
I think, yeah, I've had to look under a few rocks to find some solutions for people, particularly in this space, because it is very new, and what we're going to be talking about, the laws that govern being online. It's been trying to work around those, but still being flexible for you as the practitioner, and then also for your client to be able to access your service in an efficient way. Yeah.
I mean, one thing most Christian, all counsellors are good about is ethics, because we're bound by a lot of ethics, and so, where possible, everyone wants to be able to do the right thing, and so the online space is no different. And I think if we can simplify things as much as for people as possible, that's a good thing. So I guess today I wanted to just chat to you about some of those sort of, key general areas that online counsellors need to be aware of if they're getting online.
Yep.
So was there anything else you wanted to add before we sort of launched into some of the questions around that?
No, let's jump into it, Penny.
Into it, all right. So I know that when I first came to you, you helped me do a few things, and one of those things was you helped me set up a Facebook page for my business. And
Yep.
there were some things that I came to it fairly green, and you learn as you go, and I've learned a lot. But I know that there was a couple of things that we chatted about, and that was to do with some of the promotional advertising laws in Australia around health businesses, and counselling falls under being a health business. So I know one of the things that we chatted about quite a bit was, often when you go to Facebook pages, people write reviews about the business.
Yes.
And so would you like to just share a little bit about some of the issues with that for counsellors?
Yeah, this is a real common issue for people working in the health sector, particularly counsellors, because their clients will often want to share that they've had a good experience with you as a counsellor, which normally would be fantastic because you want that word of mouth. But obviously, as a counsellor, you're bound by confidentiality laws. So we need to be really careful with that. We also, not only as your ethical responsibility, but there's also legal responsibility with that. There's a document which we'll be able to provide a link to on your Facebook page or group, Penny.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the Guidelines for Advertising a Regulated Health Service.
Mm-hmm.
This is the document which outlines everything that people need to ensure they're following. It's actually written really well and really clearly, so you don't need to be worried about jargon and confusing sentences. And it actually talks in here about reviews, which also are classed as testimonials. So, and it says in here that you are not allowed to have testimonials from your clients about you or about the service you offer. And it specifically states on your website or social media. So what we need to do then in terms of Facebook as an example is we need to turn off the ability for people to put a review on your page, and we need to turn off the ability for them to check in, because obviously by them checking into your service, they're announcing that they're a client.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah,
it is a big one, and a lot of people struggle with it because it typically would be a great way to advertise your service, but given the nature of the world that you're working in as a counsellor, we can't do it, unfortunately. But the great news is that there's a feature within, there's a section within Facebook that you can turn that off.
Yeah. And I guess, when you talk about testimonials, that would go for your website as well. So, often people put testimonials on their website as well.
Yeah.
And so that would be a no-no too, I'm thinking.
Unfortunately, it is as well, Penny. Yep. We can't use testimonials anywhere. You would just be in breach of these guidelines if that was the case, and you could be reported for it.
And I think those are really good things to know, because it's not something that's kind of widely put out there that here's the do's and don'ts. You've got to kind of go looking for that information, and if you don't know where to look, you can't always find it. So and I guess another thing that I know we talked about a little bit was that sort of promotional activity. So if you wanted to, in your advertising of yourself on Facebook, for example, I think we spoke at one point about, doing things like giveaways or competitions and things. And so there's some clear guidelines around that too, isn't there? We had a couple of conversations around that.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a common misconception out there that you're not allowed to do that you can't offer a free consultation or a discounted consultation or other incentives like that. The actual wording within these guidelines says that you can offer a gift, a discount or other incentive, but you must state the terms and conditions with that offer. So it's not saying you can't do it, Penny. You just need to put the terms and conditions with the offer.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So for someone who was, say, maybe didn't have a website at the moment, they're just
Yep.
getting going, because Facebook business pages are a great way to get going.
Absolutely.
And at the moment, let's
Absolutely.
face it, every man and his dog is on
Yeah.
social media right now because we're all in lockdown. So
Yes.
Facebook has gone nuts. So
Yeah.
they may not have a website. They're wanting to sort of promote themselves, maybe to get some clients. Whereabouts could they pop those terms and conditions, say, on Facebook? What would be a position where they could put them?
You have to put it with the advertisement. So if you've put it as a post or as an ad within Facebook, you need to actually have the terms and conditions with that ad. You could also set up, there's a tab within Facebook called Notes.
Mm-hmm.
I'd suggest that's a good spot to put your terms and conditions. It gives you a lot of room within Notes that you can put down the terms and conditions for multiple offers that you have going at the time. I believe there's also a section, yes, there is a section from memory actually in your Facebook ad where it asks you for your terms and conditions, and you can pop in there.
Okay, great. And I think that's really good information to know, because Facebook's changing all the time.
Yes.
They change themselves all the time. And so what used to be there a week ago,
Yeah.
now suddenly disappeared up in a puff of smoke.
Yeah.
And so it can be a bit overwhelming to start with, to kind of get your head around. And let's face it, if it's overwhelming, sometimes people go, I can't be bothered.
I'd just rather not do anything. Yeah.
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 And one of the other things I just wanted to talk to you about as well was, the importance of privacy policies. If you're going to be online, whether you've got a website or you're just doing it through Facebook, policies are really important, aren't they?
Yeah. A lot of people tend to want to go and hide when you say policy, but they do have their place, particularly in the health industry. The main one that we need to follow as health practitioners is a privacy policy. Now, typically you would have a privacy policy that you give your client related to the privacy around the service you're providing. And in that, you would outline the way you're collecting, using, storing, and how they can access the data that you collect. When you add to that the element of having a website and social media, you need to also have a section in there that talks about the online data that you're collecting as well, and how you're storing it. And that's mandatory, Penny. Health services have to have a privacy policy in place.
And and I guess, if I was a counsellor right now who didn't have that and was just starting out getting online, I might be going, where on earth do I find something like that? So I'm thinking, and because I know that you helped me out with mine, your business does provide a service that can help people out with privacy policies for that very thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, we've actually done up a template for health practitioners that specifically the content within it is geared towards a health practice, and particularly with the online content too is pointing towards a health practice. And then you can easily within that template just modify it to the specific way that within your service you use the data that you collect. So if anyone wants a copy of that, they can contact me, and we will be providing a special offer for people who are attending the summit, where they can get that privacy policy for 50% off the normal retail price for that.
Yeah, that's very generous of you, Lisa. I think the group will be very appreciative of that, because it's another point of being overwhelmed, isn't it?
Oh, I think particularly so with a privacy policy.
And there's so many. You can Google privacy policy and thousands of templates come up, but you know where to start or how to sift through everything that's in them. And so always go to someone who knows exactly what you need for your industry, and that's a good place to go. So thank you for that. I'm sure everyone will appreciate that offer. I guess the other thing I really want to talk to you about, and a lot of people may not be aware about this, but whenever we're storing any sort of data, particularly client data, online, or clients are going through our website and giving us data, we have to store that somewhere. And even if counsellors are thinking about using a web-based storage facility like OneDrive or Google Drive or Dropbox or whatever the web-based storage is, and they want to store client data in the cloud, there are some specific issues around that, aren't there, for Australians to consider?
Yes. To meet the privacy principles within Australia, we need to be storing our data on an Australian server.
Mm-hmm.
So there's many instances where we will unknowingly be storing our data on an overseas, a foreign server. So we need to be mindful to specifically find an Australian server for storing our data.
Mm.
Now, you may be storing data in multiple ways. So one example is with your documents. So what we recommend is using Microsoft OneDrive for business, specifically the business edition, because it is hosted on an Australian server. So we know the data is being stored on a server in Australia. The reason this law is in place is because the people that are hosting those servers need to comply with the Australian laws if they're in Australia. So we know if it's an Australian server that it's complying with the Australian laws, whereas if it's overseas, we can't guarantee that. Another place you may be storing data is your website. These days, we can do a lot of things with our websites, such as doing online forms where the client can complete the form. Now, and it's something people mightn't think of, but your website needs to be an Australian server as well. So there's a lot of website companies out there that are actually American or another overseas company. That's why if you get a website through us, we ensure that it's an Australian server. Our servers are hosted in Melbourne. Another way that you may be storing data is on a cloud backup system. So a lot of people are moving to doing cloud backups now instead of external hard drives. And that's another example where you need to do your research and check that it's an Australian-based server.
Mm. How do you find that out? Do you just do like a bit of a Google search and say, is, Dropbox held on an Australian server? Will that bring up information?
Yeah, absolutely, Penny. Just do your research, and I can guarantee somebody else has probably already done it. And if they haven't, contact them directly.
Yeah.
And ask them the question.
We can pretty much say that most of the key ones that people use, apart from the one that you just mentioned, and that needs to be the business OneDrive, Microsoft,
yes,
as opposed to the home
version.
Version. So there is a fee with that, isn't there? There's a monthly fee or a yearly subscription or whatever.
There is a monthly fee. It's quite minimal considering what you get for it. If anyone's got any questions and concerns about these sorts of things to do with their IT, we can also help you with that if you would like, and we can set you up like we did with you, Penny. We set you up with a Microsoft OneDrive account and the cloud-based data backup and those sorts of things we can help people with. So if you don't have the time to do the research, then come and have a chat to us and we'll help you out with that.
Yeah, and that's great. And I think, again, these are all sorts of things until I started looking into it and asking the questions, I had no clue.
Yeah.
And, I guess there comes a point where saying that you didn't know doesn't necessarily cut it.
No.
There's been a major breach.
No.
In data.
No. The requirements are that we need to make a reasonable effort to protect the data of our clients. So saying that you didn't know wouldn't be an appropriate answer.
Yeah.
Mm.
And do you think
I think it's important to say, Penny, that we're in an online world and there is no such thing as having your data completely protected safely.
Yeah.
And that's why the ruling around it is that we are to take reasonable steps to ensure that it's safe.
Mm.
So, and then that kind of comes back to ethics too, of have we done everything that we could have done to ensure our clients' data is protected.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point you made, because anybody can get hacked at any particular point.
Yeah,
Even what seems to be some of the most secure platforms in the world end up getting.
yeah,
But I guess as long as you've done everything you can and followed the law to the best that you can, and I
yeah,
guess if you've got any doubts, do seek some legal advice of your own to make sure that what you're using is the right thing. Um,
yeah.
but
Absolutely.
yeah,
I'm just sharing today of what my understanding of it is. But if anyone is really wanting to ensure that they're complying, I do encourage them to do their own research and to seek legal professional support on that. And again, the IT arm of Crunch Practice Solutions also does have some staff that specialise in cybersecurity.
mm,
So they can help with
yeah,
that as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess I've personally found that, there's a couple of things that you guys manage for me with my business. And I found that to be incredibly helpful. And
Yeah.
overall, the cost for the, the time that it saves me and the IT headache that it gives me has
Yes.
been completely worth it. And I think overall, it probably cost me about $22 a month or $30 a month for you
Yep.
guys to do the updates on my website, which is driving me insane.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and my OneDrive
Yeah.
system that I use. So I think, sometimes those little things can allow us space to be able to get on with the thing that we're called to do, and that's
Mm-hmm.
counselling, which for us, I think at the moment is probably going to go through the roof soon, because people are going to be needing support. So
Yeah, and that's exactly right, Penny. I think, God's called me to run Crunch Practice Solutions, and He's called you and anyone else listening to this to be a counsellor. And we all work with our gifts to work together to be able to reach people. So that's just the way it's set up, isn't it? That we we all specialise in different sections, and we're all here to help each other.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
it is a relief to know that when you do have a question, you've got somewhere to go and ask.
Yeah.
And if those people don't know, whoever people choose to support them, if they don't know, hopefully they can
Yeah.
find it for you. So
Yeah.
look, is there anything else you wanted to add, Lisa, just before we finish up?
Just see if I've written anything here, Penny. No, I don't. I don't think so. No, I think that's it. But if anyone has any more questions for me, Penny, I'm more than happy
Mm.
to answer them. Actually, I have put together a document that we will be sharing with everyone. I don't know if you want to talk about that, Penny.
Yeah, so Lisa's put together a document with some information for you guys, and we're going to make that available to you through a little landing page where you guys will sign up to get that. And so that will go into the Facebook group in the next couple of days. And so that's really wonderful for Lisa to be able to provide that information to you. And I think Lisa's going to be available for a bit of a Q&A
Mm-hmm.
through a post over the next few days as this session goes into Teachable. So if you've got any of those questions, she may be able to help answer them for you.
Mm.
Good. So look, Lisa, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. I know everybody's busy at the moment, and I know you've got another business as well that you run.
I do.
A decking business. We'll give that one a plug as well. It's Toowoomba decking.
If anyone lives in Toowoomba, I can get your deck looking amazing.
This is a very multi-talented lady.
Oh, thanks for having me, Penny. I'm very happy to have participated with you on this.
Thank you. And thank you for the freebies too that you're putting together for the
Yeah,
group.
not a problem.
Most appreciative. All right, well, thank you, and we'll be talking soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.